Hello, my name's Hunter, and today I'm going to teach you about present tense verbs in Spanish and how to conjugate them. But first, let's talk about conjugating a present tense verb in English. So, in any language you're learning, and especially Spanish, you're going to start with the infinitive of the verb, which in English is to then the verb. So let's start off with to eat. We're going to use this chart that is very important for everything concerning verbs in Spanish. And just remember, this row is first person, this row second person, this row third person, this column is singular, and this column is plural. And so we're going to put the pronouns with these in English just to show you how we conjugate this verb. Let's see here, I'll go ahead and write the pronouns. All right, so we say, I eat, we eat, you eat, but plural, he eats, and they eat. Now, you can see that in English, we actually only change the conjugation of this verb for the third person singular. And this is why learning languages is a little tricky for English speakers, because most languages, you're going to be conjugating for all of these different things, and that holds true for Spanish. Now, the way that we know what an infinitive is in Spanish is it's either going to end with AR, ER, or IR. So we call all the verbs that end with AR verbs. These would be ER verbs, and these would be IR verbs. So, and the way that you conjugate a verb is you'll take off this ending. So here we have hablar, to speak. So when you're conjugating it, you'll just take off that AR and add whatever ending corresponds to the correct conjugation. So for AR verbs, our endings are O, as, a, almost, ice, and on. So now one thing about Spanish is that it's what we call a pro-drop language, which means that you don't need the pronoun to understand the sentence. In English, since we don't change these conjugations, it's very important that we have our pronouns. But in Spanish, since they're all different, you don't need to include the pronoun in when you're saying the verb. So for example, hablo, I speak. Hablas, you speak. Habla, he or she speaks. Hablamos, we speak. Habláis, you speak, plural. And hablan, they speak. Now we're going to do the same thing for ER and IR verbs, but the endings are a little bit different. For ER, they're O, the same, then es, e, hemos, es, and en. So as you can see, the ER verb endings are the same as the AR verb endings, just with an E wherever there's an A. So now let's conjugate the verb comer, which is to eat. We have como, I eat. Comes, you eat. Come, he or she eats. Comemos, we eat. Comes, you eat, plural you. And comen, they eat. Now let's do IR verbs. Once again, we have O, es, e, hemos, ex, and en. So the IR verb conjugations are actually all the same except for this first person plural where we have hemos instead of hemos. So let's conjugate vivir, to live. Vivo, I live. Vives, you live. Vive, he, she, or it lives. Vivimos, we live. Vives, you plural lives, live, you live. And viven, which is they live. Now, honestly, the best way and the only way to practice this is going to be to memorize these endings right here. If you're able to memorize these, this will make learning Spanish much, much easier, especially once you start getting into more verb tenses where you have to remember more than just present tense. Adios.